If you want to be a teacher, you are a teacher, and you're wondering why students just don't get it. There are many factors, but we are really good at teaching what we teach. We've done it for years. Even if you are a first-year teacher, you tend to be somebody that really knows the knowledge because you went to college. But what happens when you just know that you're teaching, but students aren't learning? Students aren't clear. Just because you taught it to them doesn't mean they're motivated to learn what you're teaching them. So what do you do? Now, it's been a while since I've been out of the classroom. I am a science educator by trade, and I taught in Illinois, I guest taught in Ohio, and I taught in California. Science. And I was excited about teaching. It was fun. Everything, all the knowledge that I had seemed really fun. But if I could go back and tell myself something, I would say slow down and break it into parts. But learning isn't a secret. I would actually tell the students exactly what the expectation was at the beginning of the class. I would tell students what they needed to know at the beginning of the class so that by the time they left the class or by the time they left the quarter or the semester, they would know what they were supposed to learn. And that's not easy because I could stand and deliver and talk about balancing chemical equations all day long, and it's fun for me. But it's not fun if you have no idea what you're learning. So if you go back in time, so if you're a teacher, I want you to take a step back. And I want to show you a chart of an author by the name of John Hattie. Visible learning, like making learning so visible and accessible that students can't wait to be in your classroom. So here is that chart. This chart really explains the timeline of when visible learning came out. Now, these are all the titles of the books that John Hattie authored. Now, there are some co-authors that I added to that. But in 2008, and I was still teaching in Palm Springs, I was not aware of visible learning, and we tend to be a little bit behind. Telling students exactly what they need. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy this book and read it because it's really, really like the meta-analysis is overwhelming. There are some other books that you can read that are a little bit more accessible. But what he said was teacher clarity and students being clear on what they're learning changes the length of time, shortens the length of time on how students can learn it. Meaning students can learn a year's worth of what they normally would learn in 1 year. They could learn it 3 years of information in 1 year if you're very specific and clear. Now, there's some other factors that you need to do that with that, like letting the students talk to each other, peer-to-peer conversation, letting them critique the learning of others, but in a way that they feel safe. But these are some books. If you ever, don't read them all. If you were going to read one, I would read this one and some of the playbooks that are out there. But I thought I would share this information with you so that you could see it. Now, here are some articles that I'd like to show you. Some of these articles, like this one, The Core Collaborative, The Power of Gaining Clarity for Establishing the Purpose of Learning, Kara Van Das, which helped write with Dr. Almarode, Clarity for Learning. This is what happens. I feel frustrated and confused. I don't want to do the work because I have no idea what I'm supposed to do or what to even ask my teachers. Oh my gosh. Most students feel this way. You remember how you felt in college. You remember how you felt as a student. When you didn't know what you were learning by the end and you took a test, you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And then you feel like you failed. Students become really motivated when it's clear. And here's another one. When do you feel the most motivated? It's when I am going deeper and deeper in the learning and I show that I'm actually learning. Now, that means you can show what you know, you can tell another student, you can talk about it, and you feel like you were part of the conversation. But if you're a stand and deliver teacher, I would argue that you need to stop. Yes, direct instruction is important, but you need to check for understanding, which is a whole nother video, by the way. And then there's some other articles out there, like this one, Teacher Clarity, Cornerstone of Effective Teaching. Why is What is teacher clarity? Goes over that. I recommend this one. Why is teacher clarity important? And here, this is it right here. Having reviewed behaviors that characterize teacher clarity, let's consider why it is such an important teacher trait. First of all, students are more motivated to learn when instruction is clear. Like, do you have a learning intention? Are they really clear on what they are learning? And then lastly, one more article, success criteria. Like, how do you know when students are going to be successful? Now, if you give them 5 success criteria at once, it's too much. Like, be very specific on the learning. Be so specific that they can say, today I'm learning about addition. I'm learning about add-ins. Like, give them the language of the discipline. And I know I have learned it when I can take 2 numbers or 2 variables and give you the sum. If it's multiplication, I'm taking 2 groups of something or 3 groups of something, and I know I've learned it when I can give you the product. I know how much is what the answer is. Like, it's as simple as that. I think we think that real life learning is, oh, I needed to get a job. No, you need to learn it so it's embedded into your long-term memory. So these are some of the articles that I would totally recommend. So as a recap, I recommend that you slow down the learning. If you are a new teacher, you're a veteran teacher, you're somewhere in the middle, be very clear on what students are learning. Tell them, today you are learning. Don't just put it on the board and expect them to read it. Tell them, ask them to write it down, tell them to tell their neighbor, tell them to discuss it in the group, and then tell them why they are learning it. And then specifically say, you know you will have learned it when you can do this. Tell them that. Learning shouldn't be a secret. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. Tell me how teacher clarity has changed and impacted your student learning.